Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to Dr. Rohani. Today, me and my fellow friends from Group 4 will be presenting our term paper with the topic of the impact of authoritarian parenting on children's development. Before we start, let us introduce ourselves.
Hello, my name is Hanisa binti Mustawi.
Hi, my name is Nur Atira binti Abdul Malik.
Hello Dr. Rohani, my name is Wadatul Kisina binti Suhaimi.
And lastly, myself, Nur Shamimi Amira binti Zainal. Before we go in depth on our topic, let me introduce to you briefly what is parenting. Parenting is a process of nurturing, raising and providing children with protection and care for them to ensure their development before entering adulthood. Based on a work by developmental psychologist Diane Baumrind, researchers have identified there are 4 common parenting styles. Firstly, we have the authoritative parenting, where these parents give reasonable demands and express warmth and listen to the children's point of view. Next is permissive parenting. This style is characterized by giving high warmth but low control. They act more like a friend to the children as they make very few demands and rarely use punishments. Other than that is uninvolved parenting. These parents have low warmth and control. They have little knowledge on what is going on in the children's life and didn't give much in nurturing and attention to their children. And lastly, authoritarian parenting. This style have low warmth but still high control as they place high value on conformity and obedience. These parents strictly monitor their children while expressing very little warmth. Parenting styles and approaches have been linked to a variety of outcomes of their children. As I've mentioned before, authoritarian parenting style is one in which parents are demanding of their children while being unresponsive to them. In other words, parents that utilize this method are likely to place excessive expectation on their children while providing little positive feedback, and in case the children fail to comply or meet the expectation, they will be punished. Therefore, this type of unhealthy parenting style should not be adopted by parents to prevent negatively influencing their children's development and psychological well-being. Thus, for this presentation, we will be discussing the negative impact of authoritarian parenting. I will now pass the stage to the next speaker, Christina.
Thank you, Shahami, for the brilliant introduction. Hello Dr. Rohani, my name is Wadatul Kisina binti Suhaimi. I will be explaining the first point of argument for this topic of discussion. To begin with, the authoritarian parenting style posed several effects on the children's self-development. One of the damaging impacts of authoritarian parenting style is the children's mental health will be neglected. This is because there will be a high tendency for the children's feelings to be invalidated by the parents, as this style of parenting signifies the complete control possessed by the parents over the children's actions and behavior. Apart from that, parents usually set high expectations on the children and contemplate them to meet those standards in any manner they could. Rather than confronting and communicate with the children as an adult, parents prefer punishment as a way to discipline them when they fail to meet those expectations. According to Fadilah, Wahab, and Satyabdi, the development of the children's social and emotional growth can be impeded by strict punishment, especially when they are handled authoritatively because their emotions are suppressed. The statement was further explained that as a result of their upbringing, the children may develop self-inferiority complex, which may lead to depression and anxiety because they are constantly subjected to punishment without having the chance to express their opinions. Hence, based on the previous statement from scholars, we learned that children who are treated authoritatively by the parents hardly have their freedom of speech, as the control the parents had over them would distress their emotions due to lack of negotiation and room for emotional transparency. So, this cycle of emotional abuse from the parents will definitely harm the children's mental health as all the pressures are kept within themselves. Further looking into the earlier point, another impact of authoritarian parenting style towards the children's mental well-being is it refrains the children from expressing their emotions healthily. This can be affirmed by a statement from Fadilah, Wahab, and Satyabdi through their study. The authoritarian parenting style may also cause the children to exhibit an aggressive behavior, especially when confronting an event that may trigger their anger. The children will have the tendency to be aggressive and can even be physical towards others, as they are never allowed to express their emotions and are used to bottling up their frustrations. Furthermore, when it comes to a point where the demands from the parents are intolerable, the children may rebel and lose their sense of self, which may lead to a more serious problem if the issues are prolonged. Not only that, but the change in behavior will also affect the reputation and the performance of the children, especially in their school. For instance, the scenario can be supported by the statement from Husni, Wuryandani and Marzuki. In order to meet the expectations set by the parents to perform well in examination, the children are willing to pursue any length, such as cheating in the tests or exams. Also, the children may quietly rebel against their parents by being a bully as a way to express their frustrations. To justify, the children's actions are the consequences of the pressure they receive from the parents. Hence, there is a high possibility of them having the guts to do despicable things as long as the goals are accomplished. This is because, in the children's point of view, they are in a situation where it is mandatory for them to fulfill their deeds just to be validated by their parents. To sum up, the authoritarian parenting style imposes an absolute control over the children, which will cause the distress towards their mental health due to the lack of praise and encouragement in the home, as well as punishment for failure. So as a result, the children will feel less confident and unmotivated, as they are constantly being subjected as a disappointment to the family if they fail to achieve the standard that has been set upon them. So if the issue continues, this will psychologically trigger the children's change in behavior due to the accumulated mental pressure endured by them. So that being the case, the authoritarian parenting style certainly demonstrates a very damaging impact on the mental state of the children. Thank you, that's all for me. I'll pass the floor to the next speaker, Nur Shamimi Amira, for the second point of argument.
Thank you, Christina, for the explanation of the first argument. Hello, Dr. Rohani. Again, I am Shamimi, and I will now elaborating on the second argument, which is authoritarian parenting will make the children to have low self-esteem. In psychology, the term of self-esteem is used to describe a person's subjective sense of personal worth or value. Self-esteem impacts decision-making process, relationship, emotional health, and overall well-being. It also influences motivation, as people with a healthy, positive view of themselves understand their potential and may feel inspired to take on new challenges. Although self-esteem is influenced in a variety of ways, there are many variables that plays a role. According to Kashki, as a human being, our initial environment is exposed to the parents, thus they are the most sensitive variables that might impact a person's self-esteem. Most studies have indicated that parenting style has a direct influence on children's well-being, particularly their self-esteem. Let me give you an example. A children with authoritarian parents will miss out on lots of things, as they are too scared of not being able to succeed in what they are doing, because eventually they will get punished by their parents for not performing well. According to Fitriani, although just like any other parents, authoritarian parents would want their children to be safe and successful, but their approach are too rigorous, harsh, and controlling. So rather than making their children feel good about themselves, they undermine their children's self-esteem and problem-solving ability, making them feel inferior, insecure, and worthless. In conclusion, parenting style plays an important role in raising children with strong self-esteem, but for authoritarian parenting, the exact polar opposite of it by enforcing strong restriction and employing punishment to their children, in which causing them to have low self-esteem due to fear of disappointment of their parent. Now I will pass this presentation to Adira, as she will be covering on the counter-argument of this topic.
Thank you, Shamimi. Hi everyone, I'm Adira, and for this part, I'm going to explain one of the benefits of authoritarian parenting. As we already listened from the previous negative connotations associated with the authoritarian parenting, for our first point in the sense of discipline and responsibility, we know that this style will undoubtedly discipline the children and instill a sense of responsibility in their life due to the high level of parental control. And according to our literature review, authoritarian parents place a high value on their children's discipline, regulations, consequences regarding the child's daily routine. And as a result, this action is widely supported because it will teach the children to be more well-mannered and also a disciplined person. According to Pratap and Chandola in 2019, the children will be accustomed to the method that is taught by their parents by following the rules and will never consider doing something bad. It is due to its strong belief that has been planted in them. The habit will most likely grow on them and last through adulthood. Pratap and Chandola also stated that parents are eager to make rules and enforce consequences with little regard for their children's opinions. The reason for this is that the authoritarian parents understand that by doing so, their children are not interested in bargaining and they are only concerned with the future compliance. Furthermore, whenever the children make a mistake, they will be charged with self-discipline. According to Keith Lengel and Zalewski in 2011, the children that is raised by authoritarian parents tend to follow the regulations for the majority of the time. And several parental control behaviors, which is the behavioral control tactics such as discipline and also monitoring, are thought to be important for their children's adjustment. And we can see that these variations indicate who the parenting activity is intended for. Keith Lengel and Zalewski also stated that behavioral control focuses on the parents' efforts to limit and manage their children's behaviors by monitoring their activities, communicating rules or standards for appropriate or desirable behaviors, and consistently engage in these behaviors. And as a result of this, the children are eager to listen to their parents because these upbringing patterns can predict their children's attitudes toward being a well-mannered people. The children will be more responsible as they have the urge to do the right thing towards what had been taught by the parents, which brings us with our second point in the sense of disciplines and also responsibility. Even so, authoritarian parents place many restrictions on their children's lives and behaviors, whether they both at home and also in public. And they may even micromanage almost every aspect of their children's lives and also behaviors. According to Tan in 2018, this style will encourage a child to consider their actions before acting on them. Thus, the youngster has a strong desire to do the right thing and will be more thoughtful about their options before acting. As a child grows older, they become less reactive and more proactive in their life choices. Authoritarian parents instruct their children which options are correct and which options are incorrect with each decision. This discussion teach children what it means to be good or bad based on their decisions. And also, children that is raised in this authoritarian parenting style, they will frequently seek for proactive solutions to the problems that they believe will arise because these conversations occur proactively before a decision must be made. According to Regally in 2018, when a failure occurs, these parents teach their children the value of making amends for their errors. Although this can be taken too far, by spending long periods of time studying for educational mistakes, the emphasis on making amends is a good thing. In short, we know that the authoritarian parenting is the best parenting style method for developing a child's upbringing because it can make them a disciplined adult in the future. Besides, due to their characters of their childhood until adulthood, the parents will instill a responsible nature in their children during their education. In contrast, the parents know that they value discipline because they know that their children will be proactive as a result of the method that had been applied to them. And that is all from me. After that, I will hand over our next point to Hanisa.
Well, thank you Atira for the explanation on the first counter-argument. Moving on, my name is Hanisa binti Bustami and I'll be talking about the second counter-argument, which is goal-oriented. First thing first, the parents should emphasize detailed plans and goals. By this mean, the authoritarian parents wanted their plans and goals to be followed and achieved by their own children. Therefore, the parents will stick to the thorough plan aligned with the specific and clear instruction to be given to them. As stated by Fitzsimon, Finkel, and Bandelin, the authoritarian parents wanted their children to follow their footsteps in the future. Sometimes, parents tend to be resentful towards their children when they do not follow the expected goals or plan which have been set for them. Allow me to put in a simple example. When the parents said that their child must be a lawyer one day when she grew up, but then it was the other way around for her as she wanted to pursue musical career. Thus, this is the reason why her parents get so mad at her with that kind of decision. As a saying goes, a blessing in disguise, where Ben Ballard and Boatman stated that there are certain ideas and instructions which may seem absurd to the children, yet they're indeed useful for them in the future. Instead of parents just nagging around when their children did not obey to their instruction, parents can educate them on how to plan their daily activities, such that this kind of approach can be taught and done as early as their children are in primary school. By doing so, Lee and Impact from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationship had this to agree that children will not overlook or even miss out any single activity by doing a proper planning. Parents by any chance can help their children in preparing a list, which is commonly known as things to do, where children will jot down all the activities that needed to be done on the specific of day. For instance, like 9 a.m. on Saturday morning is for laundry time, and then proceed to 10 a.m. it's where the cleaning of the house begin, and then proceed to 2 p.m. where the kids will be doing their homeworks and revision and so on. There's one quote by Benjamin Franklin which seems to relate to this situation, where if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And just like that, even the smallest plan is still considered as plan. Therefore, a proper planning will definitely lead to a good start of something else. Am I right? In order to relate from the previous point, where the authoritarian parents need to prepare a plan and goals so that their children will eventually grow up to their expectation and rules, which means that in this case, the authoritarian parents are more concerned and focused on the detailed plan. Even the slightest detail is also considered for their own and also their children's life. Slowly but surely, that this kind of approach can encourage their children to visualize and later to focus on the goals for their future career-wise. This statement is supported by Miyake and Friedman, in which they pointed out that when children are lost or feel demotivated, where at one point they just feel the urge to just give up on everything, then that's when the parents need to play their part by helping their children to set targets and goals so that they can choose and select the most optimal action that need to perform by their children. At the same time, parents will teach them on how to organize their life, as this can bring huge benefits to their children's development, or should I say, a lifelong learning skill, as this is because parents are responsible to assist their children till they reach to the finishing line, says Lisa and Impact. Furthermore, it can also inspire the children to work harder so that they can achieve their goals without failing them. Several authors such as Zhong Zhang and Yao have pointed out that the parents will be extremely proud of their children's achievements, since the technique being used works wonder for their children's success. In order to affirm this statement, those authors also use an example where the parents will prepare a clear guideline and plans in order for them to assist their children to score an A in mathematics tests at school. Later on, the parents will start to enroll their children in mathematics tuition after the school session in order to improve their mathematical calculation aspect. As a recap, the authoritarian parenting style is indeed a great measure to develop a bright future for their children, in which this kind of exposure will surely help and teach them on how to organize their plan diligently, where it includes detailed plan and specific goals. Hence, when the children grow up, they will eventually follow the leads and expectations set out by their parents.
Thank you, Anissa. Now I will be discussing on the first point of refutation. Despite the positive sides of authoritarian parenting style that may influence the children to be more goal-oriented and disciplined individual, nevertheless, the negative impact of authoritarian parenting style outweighs the benefit. This over-control style of parenting will cause the development of the children's social skill and mental well-being to be impaired. In the opinion of Chang, the mental stress due to a strict pattern of parental control would aggravate the children who are constantly under pressure from their parents' authoritarian approach. As a result, the children may find a hard time to develop a healthy engagement with their peers. This is because in a dreadful state of mind, the child's emotion can be unstable, which can possibly lead them to be socially awkward with the public as they are used to mental degradation. In addition, the negative coping methods moderate the effect of authoritarian approach on violent conduct. As attended by Husni and others, there is a possibility for the children to emulate the way they were treated by the parents in terms of the way they talk and act to other people, as they find that it is a reasonable thing to do since the parents did the same thing towards them. Moreover, the parents' demands may cause irritation and retaliation because the children's independence is under threat. Hence, they may feel compelled to rebel and express their independence from their parents. Consequently, as recorded by Cheng, the children would eventually have the audacity to behave aggressively against their parents to defy their commands, such as running away from the house, skipping schools, and even snapping back at their parents. That being the case, we can see that the family ties will unquestionably be ruined if the dictatorial approach of parenting keeps repeating and revolves around the children's life. Thank you. That's all from me. I'll pass the floor to Nur Adira.
Thank you, Christina. Now I will continue with our second point in the refutation. As it is been stated before, it is not only harms the children's mental health, but also prevents them from developing their self-esteem. Similarly, whether or not their parents approve of each decision and how it relates to the rules determines their self-esteem. Instead of achieving success through autonomous thought and choice, which can lead to self-esteem, there is a reliance on others, which leads to a lack of confidence and fear of taking responsibility. Moreover, according to Husni Wuryandani and Marzuki in 2019, authoritarian parenting can cause their children to be sad, depressed, and also socially uncomfortable. As a result of their parents' rigidity, the children are likely to do terrible things behind their parents' backs. And at the same time, the children are unable to realize their full potential independently because they are more likely to be less resourceful due to they are used to having plans made for them because they did not have any opportunity to make their own decisions. Chang in 2017 stated that the children, especially the teenagers, want to make their own decisions in life at times, and when the parents are overly authoritarian, they find it very difficult to find and suit with their needs. As a result, they are suffocated by their parents' contentment, which reduces their self-confidence and creates a loss of self-assurance in other children. In summary, the authoritarian parenting would have a negative impact on their children's development. Consequently, it has something to do with the fact that the children's behavior would become more passive as the parents constantly force them to follow the rules. Similarly, every action and decision is evaluated in light of expectations that have been established. Even if there are no good or bad choices in a real-life situation, there is always a right and wrong choices. And as a result, due to the children have a very low self-esteem, the children are forced to rely on rules to make decisions, which may impair their learning when compared to other children that is raised by other parenting styles. And that is for the refutation explanation. Next, I will pass to Hanisa for our conclusion.
Thank you, Atira, for explaining on the refutation part where you touches on the authoritarian parenting style should be avoided as it is obstruct the children from developing their self-esteem. Well, hello there, it's me again, Hanisa Bustami. So let's move on to the last part of this presentation, shall we? So to conclude everything, the authoritarian parenting style has both positive as well as negative impact on the children, whereby this kind of parenting style has lead more on the negative impact as it can hinder the children's development in terms of their social skill as well as their mental health. Even though we could somehow doubt that this authoritarian parenting style has more on the downside, yet this style of parenting is still crucial and brings benefit to the future development of the children itself. And for that reason, all parents, including the future parents, should learn and play a vital part in taking care as well as control their children's well-being, which can be seen in the authoritative parenting style, which is another type of parenting style. Whereas, as suggested that the authoritative parenting style is considered as the most effective method with a positive end, where the parents educate their children in a good manner so that they will end up in a bright future, especially in these challenging times of the 21st century. And yes, that's the end of our presentation. With that, my group member and I would like to say thank you so much for lending your ears and time, and I hope you enjoy our presentation. With that, thank you, stay safe and bye-bye.